What's up, guys? Welcome to Fold Out Fellowship, a podcast geared for high school and college students. This is where we're going to have great conversations about faithful living in today's world. We just hope that you sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of Fold Out Fellowship.
I have a question.
What's up?
I asked this to Megan and Amanda. I don't think y'all asked it, or I asked y'all because maybe y'all just weren't in the office. But if you were to give, so pizza is 3 main ingredients, and this is so relevant because we eat pizza 90% of the time.
So much pizza, yeah.
And I'm tired of pizza, and I want to throw up. Okay, so 3 main ingredients to pizza. They're pretty obvious. Y'all could probably help me. Sauce, cheese, and bread.
Yeah,
like crust.
Yeah.
Right? So... And I phrase it this way, I think, because the question comes off a little different than if I phrased it another way. It's not so much as like, what's the most important out of those?
Mm-hmm.
But like, imagine you have a slice of pizza in front of you, and imagine 2 of those ingredients are like below average. Like they're pretty bad.
Okay.
And 1 is like high quality ingredients.
Yeah.
Which one of those ingredients would you have be the high quality one? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's your like top?
Yeah, mine is, it's almost a tie, but so I can kind of go either way. But I want to hear what y'all think. I won't say
already
mine.
know mine.
What's yours?
The dough, for sure. The bread.
The bread?
High quality.
Okay.
The dough.
Because I feel like...
And if the cheese and sauce are low quality, then you're like,
what's low... All cheese is good. What even is low quality cheese?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm also going with like the bread.
Okay.
Because I don't like
I think that's a very safe choice.
Yeah, like hand toss. Like I'm a very picky. Like not picky. I'll eat all of it, obviously, because we eat 90% of the time. But I would do crispy, like the thin crust. It's got to be thin crust.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's got to be like high quality crust and like made correctly.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
I think for the most part, I agree with you. I think sauce is also super, super important. I think cheese is always number 3 for me. Because like if you're just using basic, even like low tier mozzarella cheese, it's still going to be a good pizza.
Right.
I think if I think of a pizza, if someone just got like, I don't know, Campbell's tomato sauce, that's just like red sauce, unsalted, just red sauce.
I've done that before and it's good.
On a pizza?
With homemade pizza. Mm-hmm.
See?
And you didn't flavor the sauce
Nope.
at all? I think that'd be weird.
Whoa.
We take Pillsbury Doughboy. This is our homemade pizza thing that we do at home.
Uh-huh.
We take a Pillsbury Doughboy like biscuit and smash it or like roll it out.
Like you
and then
break
just take like unsalted tomato sauce and just, and then mozzarella cheese, little pepperonis, pop it in the oven. And then
It's
they're like
good?
these little mini pizzas. Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're not like incredible, but they're tasty.
Yeah.
So
I think crust is probably the one of the most important things.
Yeah.
I mean, because that does sound, I don't know, it sounds weird to me, just like normal, basic red sauce. But
Yeah.
the cheese is always going to be good.
mm-hmm.
Y'all know what else is important that came to mind? Singleness.
Great segue,
Very
right?
related.
I was trying to find a way, and I was like, "There's no way. We're just gonna have to
Well,
type it."
you could do like you'd be like, the pizza is only good because it has all 3, like looking at the camera, like, come here. I love that guy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Come
yeah.
see. Look, let me tell you
I'm
something.
a little closer. Be like, pizza always has multiple ingredients, and one ingredient by itself is not the best. No, you could do something like that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
ridiculous.
I just got to dove right in. Well, anyways, welcome to this week's episode, everybody. My name's Ashton Wascom, joined by 2 very special guests, great friends of mine. We've got Mitchell Kearney, and we've got Hillary McMullen.
Yep.
Fun fact about Hillary, I had her name misspelled in my phone for almost 2 years.
Her last name?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I had it I-N, and it's not
Millen?
I-N. Yeah, McMullen. But anyways, glad to have you here,
Thank
Hillary.
you.
Even if I accidentally misspelled your name for a while. So today we are diving into some of the questions that I think have just been requested a lot. There's a topic of singleness and dating and knowing which one's the one, knowing like, should I stay with this person? Should I like break up with them? Like all these relationship questions are pretty popular amongst our high schoolers and especially or high schoolers going into college, because a lot of relationships happen, whether it's friendship or romantic. And so today I wanted to take some time to talk about the time that all of us are promised, which is singleness. Because, singleness, you're born that way, and then it ends by either getting married or it doesn't, or by death, by dying.
Well, both of those scenarios do end in death, though. You do die no matter
right.
what.
That's a good
No,
point.
if you get married, you live forever.
Whoa. No.
So that's why everyone wants to find a
That's
girlfriend
why
or a
everybody's
boyfriend.
trying to not be single. Well, that does bring me to my first question. Like, why, when I say the term singleness, our listeners or watchers out there, maybe they like cringe a little bit. I'm like, singleness. Like, yay, we get to listen to this today. Why does singleness get such a bad rap? Like, why?
Dude, I don't know. Being single is awesome.
Right?
Answer to nobody. Do whatever you want. I don't know. No bedtime. I don't know. Like, do whatever. You can do whatever you want. I don't know why singleness gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know why, but but it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't for
It
sure.
shouldn't,
But I think one of the main reasons, and most of my good friends are single, and they're older too. But they say, like, especially in the church, like, marriage is the next level. It's like the next life stage. And if you haven't reached that, you're not like a fully adult. Like one of my friends, she's like 38, about to be 39, and she's single. And she says, like, sometimes she still gets kind of treated like not a kid, but like way younger than she should, because she hasn't reached like that next level of life of maturity, which that's just correct.
It's almost like this club that married people are in that, they're actually adults. And it's like, and I know I've experienced that too. It's just like, oh, you're still single? It's like, you're like, you're a kid still. Yeah. And it's like, it's not fair. But no, I think you're absolutely right. It's dumb. It's kind of dumb that that's how people kind of view it. But
yeah, I think it definitely speaks to like the culture we're in today. I think like relationships and dating is kind of a new thing, but it's so like romanticized. It's so romanticized like in Hollywood and like in every movie we watch and like everything we see on television, everything we like want to be. It's usually not a story about someone that's like committed to ministry as a single person, like the movies, the things that sell in the box office, you know. And then, like, I don't know, like I think singleness, the reason, at least for me, I think there for a while, it took a lot of growth, but the reason I wanted to get out of it so bad was because like I almost got bored of myself. Like, like I was just like, man, like I suck by myself. I need to just go and
stop.
I need to go and find somebody to fix like the things that are wrong with me. Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, growing up, like middle school, Ashton was kind of shy. Wasn't like a big extroverted kid, and I think something that was really attractive to me was self-confidence, and I thought like a girl could bring me that. And so like that's kind of like what started this whole facade of all right, singleness will be finished one day, but maybe that's why it gets a bad rap, is because we're so focused on, or you're told all the time what pros there are, or like what how Hillary was saying, you feel like you're seen a different way, like in community whenever I'm married, compared to what I am right now, which is not married.
Right.
I
do think too that like Hillary kind of nailed it as well. Like it's that next life stage, and I think that trickles down. Right. It's like it almost has the same feel of like any other life stage. And if you haven't gotten to that life stage yet, and people your age have, you like feel. I mean, just think about that. Think about it in more of a simple term. Think about if you're just like in 7th grade. It's like, okay, well, the next step is 8th grade, and then you got held back, and everyone else went to 8th grade, you'd be like, whoa, I'm not good enough. I clearly am not on the same level as my peers, like I don't measure up.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. It's like, especially for like high school and college, it's like high school, you should have a girlfriend, right? That's kind of the standard, I guess. Someone established at some point. Or maybe you have at least one girlfriend in middle school for a week, and then, or maybe like a day. That was like your first girlfriend or your first boyfriend. And then in high school, you have more of a serious relationship. I guess people aim for the like high school sweetheart thing, but it's like, okay, if that doesn't happen, that's okay. I'm still on track, right? With life stages that everyone's going through at my age. And then it's like, but I will find my, future husband, future wife in college. And when you don't, it's like, again, you're like, I'm behind. I'm not on par with anyone right now. And then you start feeling those things. And I think that's kind of why it gets, at least there's a lot of like self-esteem problems with it, because, and it goes all the way back to when we were talking about comparison here. It's like, we're comparing our life stage with other life stages.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, oh no, I'm not measuring up right now. Like, and then you start thinking there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which just couldn't be further from the truth. Like, everyone is at a different speed. Like,
Right.
you don't have to be, just because you think this is how your life is supposed to be laid out, it's not like set in stone. You don't need to be like, oh, if I'm not married by 25, then like that's bad. It's like, who said that?
Yeah.
Who made that rule?
Right. Who did this?
It's like that's something that is worldly. That's not. I'm pretty sure you're not going along with at least trusting God for your life, because you're worried about that, and it's hard. Like, I think we all struggle with that. We're all worried at some point.
Yeah.
Even if you're a middle schooler and you're like, "Wow, my friend just got a girlfriend.
Right.
I don't have a girlfriend.
Guess I need to get one.
Yeah." You're like, "Why don't I have one? Is there something wrong with me?" And you start. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, because those thoughts, they don't go away. Like you're always battling that, like like that personal battle with like justifying if you're good enough or not. And what's sad is that today we rank how good, like it's easy to rank yourself on how good or how great of a person you think you are based on how many people like you. However, like what we're being taught is, you find somebody for a relationship due to how they look or what they do or like a lot of worldly things, right? And so it's a tricky game, and I like definitely hear out my high schoolers who are like, yeah, like I'm single again, like this sucks, like I'm ready to be in a relationship. And it's like, man, I hear you. Like, I don't want to discount that, because like it's just an inner battle going on of like, hey, you are like in a fantastic state at the moment, right? Like you were saying earlier, I ain't reporting to nobody. I ain't got no bedtime, like now obviously if you're in the house with your parents, yes, you have a bedtime, obviously. But but no, like even like I think about all the things I've been able to do. Like we're moving to like the good side of singleness. I think about all the things as a single guy, as a 26-year-old, that I've been able to do because I didn't have like a relationship or a family to like report to before doing it. Like doing this job, like being a high school outreach director, I didn't even know how much of a passion it would be of mine till like I just got to get in and run with it, and like going on these mission trips in the summers, like for weeks at a time, going and playing, just the most random games of golf or like the most random games of pickleball or basketball, like, and like being able to answer a phone call or like being able to be at a lunch with one of my guys and like a snap of a finger, because like I get to have this time where like it's only me. And I get to hopefully give as much wisdom as I've got, the only little bit I have, just give it back. Right. And so, yeah, to ask you guys, what's some, moving from the negative approach of singleness, or like that negative vibe that's communicated to us, why is singleness a good thing? Because I think we all agree that it is a good thing. It's a great thing. But why is it that? Why is it a good thing?
I mean, I think you already gave some really good reasons. I'm I'm married, so I, but
So I'm married,
So
and here,
I
I'm going to
am
explain why
married.
singleness is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a little awkward.
Take it away.
But I'm going to
So
use
funny.
scripture because Paul actually talks about this, and he's
Mm-hmm.
very direct. It's 1 Corinthians 7. He says, verse 7. He says, "Sometimes I wish everyone were single like me. A simpler life in many ways." Is kind of what you're saying. But celibacy is not for everyone any more than marriage is. God gives the gift of the single life to some, the gift of the married life to others. So I love that Paul says both are gifts.
Yeah.
The gift of the single life to some, which is really cool. It's kind of a reframing way to think of it. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's so countercultural, just those verses. Because, like, I think, especially in this area, but also, I mean, what I've felt growing up is that
Everywhere, yeah.
it's very clearly the opposite of that. It's like marriage is a gift and singleness is
You gotta get
you
out
got to
of it.
get out of that.
Yeah.
And that's like Paul's saying, it's like, no, both are great.
Yeah.
You know? And I can kind of, I mean, I think, so I had a student ask me, I mean, probably a few months ago, of just like the basic question of like, hey, is being an adult fun? And I was just like, that's a great question. And he was kind of like, is it better than like being a kid?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And I was like,
That's a great.
you know what? Like to honestly try to answer that, I think, and I kind of loosely referenced Ecclesiastes, and I was just like, there's a time for everything, man. I was like, you're only a kid once, so don't rush into adulthood because then you're gonna miss something in childhood. I was about to say kidhood, childhood. And like vice versa, right? That goes for everything. There's a time for everything, and God has allotted you, and it's different for everyone, the timing or whatever it looks like. And again, it's a gift both ways. But I mean, if He's called you to be single, then enjoy being single, because if you get married, then singleness is over. You're not single anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, you don't want to miss out on any of these. And I think He's called us for certain times for all of them. And then, you know, that kind of just goes without saying. So I don't know. I think that verse really nails the I guess idea there that, you know, it isn't bad.
Right.
It's a gift.
And I love that both, you know, now that we're on the topic of 1 Corinthians 7, like both singleness and marriage, I mean, they can complement each other. Like I think some great friends of mine have gotten married, but what they did was they took their time of singleness and really devoted themselves to like figuring out what are they passionate about? What are their non-negotiables? What values are they going to like stand on? What things are like they okay with like all, you know, like adjusting to meet that other person? But their standards, like I hate whenever, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, like you should just lower your standards. Like then you'll get a girlfriend or get a boyfriend or get a girlfriend. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously, you know, but like, sorry. I mean,
your standards are up here. Just make them the floor.
yeah, just date anybody. It's like, well, no, like you know, and so I think that's the thing. Like it gets lost is the opportunity we have to like, we say the cliched term like work on ourselves. But like the singleness is that time, you know. And if you got things to figure out, like if there's things that still like frustrate you, if there's things that you're still like not sure of like about yourself, I just feel like marriage isn't gonna fix that, you know. Like it's not gonna put a Band-Aid on it and it's just fixed forever. I feel like if anything, if you got some internal stuff going on that like maybe nobody else knows about and you just haven't talked to God about that, if you haven't prayed about it or like just tried your best to fix those things, all marriage does, in my opinion, I'm not married, obviously, but I would think it just unveils all of that stuff.
Hillary, what do you
You're
think?
dealing with their stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, so it's compounded.
Oh,
Yeah. But, and I think, when I was, in relationships in high school and college, my whole thing was, I was just so desperately insecure and looking for love from because I wasn't secure enough in God's love for me. So I was just looking for love from a guy, and it was miserable to rely on another person's love as like the foundation, like your identity is just miserable.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, because then you think about it, Like I love that we're on this because so like when you're in singleness, obviously the person you're going to date is also in singleness, but like what if they've got things they need to figure out and you've got things you need to figure out, but like you just want to make it work because it's at the right time and the right moment, and like we'll just figure it out as we go, and like let's just get married and like get that past us and then figure it out later. Like that's just signing up for a lot of pain, like a lot of hard things. And I feel like it's a popular thing for like a young single Christian, whether they're like in college or just graduated college, like it's okay to yearn for marriage. I feel like, I mean, that's me, like I'd love to be married one day, but like I've had to learn to not let that flood my judgment of like hopping in and finding like a quick fix, or like I said earlier, lowering a standard in the sense of like, what if this girl is either a new believer or isn't even a believer, but like she's perfect in every way, but not a Christian. Well, then like that won't work for me, right? Like that's like a core thing of my life, and like that's really, really hard to do, I think. But yeah, singleness is a time to flush out those things of like, what do I want? What do I not want? What are things I'm willing to move on? What are things I need to put my foot down on? And I love that scripture from Paul because he encourages like, hey, look, singleness ain't a bad thing. Like you don't have to get out of it. If at the end of the day, if you don't get out of it and then you die, like I don't think you're gonna like. Sorry.
Well, here,
Not
let's
to jump
just
to death.
well, let's just phrase it this way, like
Doing that.
right, like he's think about Paul. Paul's writing this. Paul, I mean, from our knowledge, never got married. I mean,
Right.
And I mean, we're pretty
It sounds
confident he never got married.
It sounds like
because of his life. Like
Yeah.
his life is, we know a lot about his life, right?
Yeah.
And like, look what he was able to do not being married. And that was that again, you can measure those and be like, whoa, that's so much better. I guess singleness is better than marriage. It's like, no, they're just different.
Yeah.
Remember, they're both gifts.
Right.
But like, look with this experience of him being single, like look what he was able to experience and also contribute to, which was like going on amazing missionary journeys with different people and like establishing churches and doing all of this. And like, I'm pretty sure if he had a wife back home, he wouldn't have been able to leave that often.
Right. Or it's tough.
But
It's
like,
hard.
but then, and then with that being said, so like he got to experience another whole life that is still a gift from God and that God ordained him to do, just as much as if he didn't do that and he was married.
Yeah.
Right. Then he would have experienced a whole nother life. It's almost like, if whenever you make a decision in your life, whether it's singleness or not singleness, like you always think about the other decisions. Like, man, what could God have done in that, right? And it's just that, right? It's like both are awesome and they're both a gift, and it's like they're just different, right? And I think it's just a shame that our culture has believed that lie of kind of what you said at the very beginning, like, oh, if you don't get married at this certain part of your life, it's like, wow, there's like everyone kind of looks at me weird, like I'm not married yet, or it's like, oh, well, you don't have. I mean, I've had people tell me this so many times, and it's hilarious because we work with kids.
I was about to say we talk about this,
but they're like, oh, you don't have kids though. It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't have kids, and I don't know how kids work, and I have never experienced or spent any time with kids, so I have no idea how kids work. I'm just like.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
Of course, I don't know it in that way, but again, that goes back to it. But again, I'm saying it's just unfortunate that, I mean, we have middle school students. I mean, I hear middle school boys that are like, I don't have a girlfriend. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like, don't feel that pressure.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if you don't have a girlfriend right now. We don't need to look at it
especially in middle school.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Ridiculous.
And like, even in high school and even in college, though, we shouldn't ever look at a person and be like, oh, like, you don't have a girlfriend or you don't have a boyfriend. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, what are we doing? Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if we looked at it that way, like, just flip that scenario. Like, oh, you're married? Like, that's not very pleasant either. It's like, these are both just different. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you hear they just got married? It's like, no, like both are awesome.
Yeah.
And if you're out there and you're like struggling because you're single and you're like, man, something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. Well, there might be something, but like, no, I'm just kidding. Listen, I don't know you, but no, but seriously, there's nothing. You don't need to strive. Like, there's nothing wrong with being single. There really isn't. Everyone has a different path to walk, and God has set His will differently for each of us. So, if that's being single for your whole life, then that's awesome, because then you can focus on other things that someone who's married can't. And then if that's being married eventually, that's focusing your willpower and all your love towards another person, and that's beautiful as well. So
I don't want this episode to come across as like us. There is no bashing of one stage or the other. Mm-hmm. I do think though that all the like awesome marriages I've gotten to see happen or like are happening currently, whether they're my age or people I get to look up to, like mentors of mine. I do think like one thing across the board is like a successful, good, anchored marriage is one where both individuals made sure to make the most time out of their singleness. Getting in community, finding Bible study, reading scripture, being in the Word, getting to know Jesus and getting to know who Jesus calls them to be. That way, even all their imperfections and like all their like things that aren't perfect, they were able to know their identity and who Christ called them to be. And then when you know that anchor, like, or when you're like aware of that and are comfortable in that and like can trust in that, and you find that other person running at the same speed as you, I know that analogy is very popular a lot. That makes it a whole lot, I feel like just not easier, but like a safer process. Like God's at the core of that, you know, and like those marriages that are so great that I'm talking about are honoring God in their own way, you know, like, and are like proof and a testimony of who Jesus is through their marriage. But then I also know some single people out there that are fantastic humans, like guys and girls both, who are just all out for either being in youth ministry, being at a summer camp, being or just in like their offices, like their accounting office, or you know, econ, or wherever econ offices are. I don't know if that is a thing, but maybe. But you know, like people in those roles too, like being able to be single in their, you know, late teens, early 20s, or just 20s in general, and being a testament of like who Jesus is creating them to be and like consistently growing them to be. I don't know, it's just super cool. And I'd hate for our listeners out there or the kids that we interact with to rush past it just because culture says you're not good enough.
Right. No, there's a time for all of these things, and just enjoy it. Whether it's being a kid when you're supposed to be a kid, being single when you're supposed to be single, or being married. It's like, enjoy it. So,
which those are all going to be future topics. Those will be fun as well. Dating and that whole thing, and you know, hopefully marriage. You know, a yearning for that one day. You know, but do you guys have any other last minute remarks or, you know, encouragements? Or I feel like we've gotten a lot of encouragement through this little episode, but any last closing remarks from you guys, Mitchell or Hillary?
No, I don't know.
Don't make a relationship your identity. Another person cannot fulfill you and make you happy. It's going to make you so miserable. Oh, if I could just look at my younger self and just shake her and be like, stop it. Like, don't let a boyfriend dictate whether you have happiness and that you feel fulfilled and worthwhile, because that's Jesus. So,
Fire.
That's
Hillary. Fire.
That's good.
Come on.
Thank you.
Retweet.
Is it still retweet on X, or is it like re-X?
Well, the URL is still Twitter, but we don't have to get into that because we should end on that.
Yeah, no, that's a great ending point.
I think we all need to hear that.
Yeah,
from time and time again. So,
well, hey, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode, whether it was on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You know, we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. Keep submitting topics you'd like to hear about. We're down to discuss them. And this is for you guys out there. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, leave comment or subscribe or a like. All the things that you can physically do.
All the things that you do when you like something.
This thing ends. Yeah, all that stuff is cool. You can do those. And yeah, with that, that is this week's episode. We'll see you next time on Fold Out Fellowship. We love you guys.
Peace. See ya.